All right, if you're working in Western Australia, listen up, because the rules for workers' compensation have just had a major shakeup. Today, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the new system that just rolled out in 2024.
So, on July 1st, 2024, the new Workers' Compensation and Injury Management Regulations officially went live. And look, this isn't just some minor tweak to the paperwork. It's a really significant overhaul that touches pretty much every single employer and employee across the state.
To make this all super clear, we're going to follow the journey an injured worker might take. We'll kick things off by figuring out what actually counts as an injury. Then we'll walk through how to make a claim, what compensation you can get, the right way to return to work, and finally, the really crucial rights and responsibilities for everyone.
Okay, first things first. What actually is a workplace injury? You know, the definition is probably a bit broader than you think, and it's so important to understand the two main categories the law now looks at. So, the law basically splits this into two big buckets. The first one is what we all immediately think of, right? A sudden physical injury from an accident, like a slip, a fall, or a muscle strain. But the second one is what's called a prescribed disease, and this is a condition that develops over a longer period directly because of the type of work you do.
Now, this idea of a prescribed disease, it's a real game changer in the new system. Regulation 5 actually lists out specific illnesses that are automatically assumed to be work-related if you're in a particular job. And that's a big deal because it can make claiming compensation a whole lot more straightforward.
For instance, and this is huge, the regulations now clearly list PTSD as a prescribed disease for first responders like paramedics. It's a major step in recognizing the psychological toll of that kind of work. They also cover COVID-19 for healthcare workers going all the way back to February 2020, and even certain cancers like mesothelioma for firefighters, acknowledging those long-term risks.
All right, so an injury happens, what do you do next? Let's walk through the actual, practical, step-by-step guide for making a claim under this new system.
The whole process really boils down to 4 clear essential steps. 1. Tell your employer right away. 2. Get to a doctor and get what's called a first certificate of capacity. 3. Fill out the official claim form and hand it to your employer. And 4. Your employer is legally required to get that claim to their insurer within 7 days.
Let's just pause on that certificate of capacity for a second, because it is a really key document. It's way more than just a typical doctor's note. It doesn't just confirm your injury, it also gives an initial idea of what you can do, making it the very first piece of the puzzle for a safe return to work.
Okay, once your claim lands with the insurance company, a new clock starts ticking, and you're going to want to remember this number, 14 days. Under Regulation 56, the insurer typically has just 2 weeks to decide whether to accept, dispute, or pend your claim. This is all designed to get you an answer, and get it fast. And just so we're clear, for employers, that 7-day window to send in your claim, well, it's not a friendly suggestion, it's the law. And failing to do it can lead to a pretty hefty fine, which just shows how seriously the system takes getting things moving quickly.
Okay, so your claim is in. Now, for the big question. What kind of support can you actually get? Let's break down the different kinds of compensation that are there to help you recover.
Think of your support as a complete package, covering 4 main areas. You've got payments to replace your lost income, money for medical bills, access to services to get you back on your feet, and even coverage for other necessary costs that pop up. First up, and probably the most obvious, are the income compensation payments. These are simply the regular payments that are meant to replace the wages you're losing while you're either off work completely or just working fewer hours as you recover.
Next, you've got your medical and health expenses covered. Regulation 32 lays out that this includes the costs for all necessary treatments. We're talking about things like physio to get your movement back, psychology to help with the mental side of an injury, and occupational therapy to help you get back to your normal life. You are also entitled to something called workplace rehabilitation services. Now, as Regulation 38 defines it, these are basically professional services totally focused on helping you get back to work. This could be anything from assessing your work capacity to helping you find a new role with vocational counseling if needed.
And the support doesn't stop there. The regulations also cover other really necessary expenses. This could mean things like the cost of your travel to and from medical appointments, which is laid out in Regulation 35, or even essential modifications to your home or your car in some situations.
Now, all this focus on support leads us right into the final stage of this whole process, getting back to work. And the new system really emphasizes that this needs to be a collaborative journey, a team effort.
So the end goal is always a return to work that is safe, timely, and, this is a great word,
durable, meaning it lasts. But here's the key. This isn't all on you, and it's not all on your employer. It's a shared responsibility that brings your doctor into the loop too. It's a true team effort. This team effort is organized around a formal document, and it's called a Return to Work program. Regulation 75 makes it clear this is a written plan in an official format that maps out all the steps, duties, and timelines for your recovery at work.
And as the worker, you are absolutely not a passive bystander here. You are a key player. The regulations are crystal clear about this. You have the right to be involved in creating your program. Your employer has to try and get your agreement on the plan. And critically, that plan has to be put into action right away.
Shoo! We have covered a lot of ground, from what an injury is all the way to getting back to the job. So let's just boil all of this down to the key takeaways you really need to remember.
When you strip it all back, the whole system is built on shared rights and responsibilities. For you, the worker, one of the most powerful rights you have under Regulation 37 is the right to choose your own approved rehab provider. You're not stuck with whoever your employer picks. And on the flip side, a huge responsibility for your employer under Regulation 73 is to have an injury management system in place, ready to support you from day one.
And that really gets to the heart of what these new regulations are all about. Managing injuries isn't just about reacting after an accident. It's about building a culture that's supportive and proactive. So that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. What's one thing you can do today to contribute to that shared responsibility in your own workplace?